Hi, David Odell here with Odell Concrete. This is part 2 of a two-part series. In part 1, we show how we got to this point and what was here before we started. Now this is pour day. We've got our screed pins in. We've got all of our perimeter forms elevations set. We've got our rebar tied in there, 3/8 diameter, 20-foot lengths, 2-foot centers or less. Got a chalk line on the wall here, and the reason that's discolored there, white and red, there was a raised planter in there that we demoed. We've got the expansion foam around the garage floor here. It's got a lot of cracks in it. We didn't want those cracks to reflect through the new concrete, so we got the expansion foam in there. Also, it makes it easier if we ever tear out that garage floor. Now on the side yard here, we're going to extend this property line wall. Noticed how we had vinyl on the other side of the driveway, other side of the house. We're going to extend vinyl out here as well on top of this concrete. We're going to dowel in and fill up our vinyl posts with concrete, and that's why we have a thickened edge. It also acts as a root barrier with that depth along those palms. It'll buy them a little more time before those palms destroy the concrete. Here's our concrete provider here, Luigi's Concrete. And here's our pumper, Martin's Pumping. And that particular pump will pump it at a 2-inch slump, so that's stiff. It's almost a dry pack. In this particular sub that we're pouring at right now is about 4.5, 5-inch slump, I would say. Also, I added fiber mesh in here, which I happen to have in stock on my storefront, amongst a lot of other goodies. There's the aluminum screed. That's your 10-footer. I have a 10 and a 12, and it seems to get most jobs done. Between the 10, 12, and the 6-footer, covers about everything. So we have a slight swell out of the back corner of that garage door and front porch. It kind of comes across at this exact angle that we're looking at it. So the water drains away from the garage door and then out to the middle of the driveway and funnels its way down here to the sidewalk and inevitably in the street. Now as we rod out here, this is we used 20 yards on this job. So, and we had the trucks back to back, so there's no cold joint. So we're just going to bowl float it, everything on the way out. And we're using a 4-foot wood bowl float. And I added about a pound of fiber per yard. You could go up to about 3 pounds per yard, depending on what kind of finish you want to do. On the rebar, if you notice, there's no dobies underneath it at all. Because we're using 3/8 rebar, which is pretty flimsy, and it bends really easily if it's elevated and you step on it. So your best bet with this type of steel is you leave it on the ground, and then as you're pouring, you pull it up as the concrete's going under it, and you can walk away, and now it's staying up because the rock in the concrete prevents it from sinking back down. Now, I mean, if you're using some 1/2-inch rebar or maybe even like a 5/8 with 5 to 6 inches deep concrete, you could go with dobies and then walk on the bars, and you're not gonna, bend them all up. But my new reinforcement is going to even be better than the steel. I already have it. It's going to be 3/8. I'm going to start using the 3/8 fiberglass reinforcement, which means cold, heat, rust, weather doesn't affect it at all. Salt, if you're close to the ocean, no rust, no corrosion. Any moisture in the ground or surface water is not going to affect the steel, because you know what happens with steel when it rusts and it's in concrete. The steel expands and it actually explodes the concrete off the top of it, which I've seen a lot. So a lot of guys put steel in concrete and they think they should put dobies under it because that's kind of what they're used to seeing or hearing. But in reality, when you get the dobies in there, when they're 3-inch or 2-inch, and you got 4 inches of concrete, the rebar's too close to the surface, and moisture will find its way in there, and you're gonna have a lot of problems. So you're best off having it closer to the bottom. In other words, if you're gonna use steel, just the way I do it is the best way. Hi, David Odell here. We have Sal. He came from about, what was it, 50 miles away or so?
50 miles away.
San Fernando Valley or
San Fernando Valley, yes sir.
Yeah, he came out here. How did you find me anyway?
Well, I found Mr. Odell here on YouTube. He does great work, great craftsmanship, and I just couldn't help to resist to call him up and come and jump in on his job and have fun right here.
Yeah, it's always fun to do that too.
Yeah, it is.
I like to do that myself actually. I'm going to someday, probably.
Well, I've been in the trade about 25 years or so, and seen Mr. Odell's work. I could tell he's been in the trade as long as that too. So, just to come in here was just fun. Just fun to come in here, and this is my favorite. I grew up doing this with my father, and it's the same kind of workmanship that you guys got here going. So,
yeah,
great.
That's how I learned it too, the same way. Well, thanks for coming out.
And I do appreciate you guys.
Let's have some more fun.
Thank you guys.
So that was kind of cool having Sal come out here. He did quite a drive to get here. And actually he's already worked. See, he worked for me a couple times since we did this job. He's also worked for one of my brothers on another job. So yeah, it happens. See, on this side of the house, you can see where there was a raised brick planter also that got demoed. So that's going to require a little stucco patch, some paint. Here's the 5-foot Fresno. On this side yard, we're going to go ahead and cut the joints in by hand. On the driveway, we're going to be doing a decorative pattern. We're going to do a grid on that, a 5-foot spacing with a 1-foot band all the way around. So we're going to saw cut all that. That joiner was 3/4 of an inch deep, and it had a 1/2 inch radius on it. So this is the second pass. He's hitting it with that woody there, the wood bull float. I'm out on the big boy fiberglass sliders, kind of like snowshoes, and I'm hitting everything with the funny float. I couldn't come down that slope with the fiberglass sliders because it was just too slippery. There's our first pass on the knee boards or sliders. just coming behind the guys on the boards, hitting it with the broom as we go out, because it's really the only way we can get to this is off the boards to broom it. Pretty much fully enclosed. And that broom is 50% horsehair, 50% nylon. Turns out to be the perfect combination. Keeps the horsehair straight because of the nylon stiffness. If it was 100% horsehair, which they do make those too, but I found the 100% horsehair always reverts to how it was on the horse's mane, and it's kind of laid over to its side. That's why you got to integrate the nylon in there to keep it standing up. Here's saw cut day. And this is actually 2 days after the pour. We gave it a little more time to cure out before we cut it, because we're at the time of year where concrete's curing out really slow right now. And I don't use any accelerators. If I want something to go off, I just add more cement. And some in freezing climates, you're going to need accelerator and hot water and, heat blankets and all kinds of things. But here in Southern California, it's sweet and simple, and it's year-round, non-stop action. We're just going with the basic 5-foot layout on this grid, but there was 2 points that I needed to hit to establish this whole grid, and that was off the corner of that pop out in the garage with existing concrete. Had to have that there, because it's going to crack off of that point. I knew it was going to crack off the center of the radius point, so that's another fixed point. And one other fixed point was up at the top of the driveway in the other existing concrete corner. So I had 3 fixed points to initiate this entire grid. This is freehand radius action. 1 foot band basically. I always cut the bands first. That way all my field cuts can just dead end at the band, and then I can run them through the band and change directions so that they're square with the perimeter instead of following that same field angle. And what we have there is the DeWalt cordless vacuum. And then we also have the Medusa walk behind. And you can see that that particular setup and the way these 2 tools are set up, they work really nicely together. Very little dust residual left over. No need for a mask, as you can see. All you really need is earplugs in this particular application. This saw runs so straight, you can almost do it with your eyes closed. Once you set it, you might as well forget it because it just rolls straight. And that's really rare in any saw that cuts concrete. Usually most saws I've ever used, you're fighting it from start to end, keeping it on a line. But this is just, like I said, set it and forget it. And just start walking. once we get all the cuts in with the Medusa, there is a few touch-ups here and there at the bottom or where you're intersecting. You have to do with the right angle grinder 4-inch blade. And we also use the cordless for that. And now if you notice, not every one of those joints where the field cuts hit the band, not every one comes through the band. It's about every other one. And also what I did is on those joints that do come through the band, those cuts are actually deeper than the rest, because that's the ones that it's going to most likely crack on. Like all the cuts where I initially established from the crack points, those are all deeper than the rest, because we know it's going to crack there, and we can assure that it will crack there by deepening the cut. This little side yard walkway is actually for your trash cans. You can roll them right out to the street here. There's a couple cans there now. Now when we bring that vinyl fence out and gate, everything will be concealed behind there. And it's a short path to the street to bring trash out. No more walking in between cars in the driveway. There's the downspout adapter. That downspout will get shifted over when the new gate goes in. And here's your drain. The reason I put that one there is because it's right by the doors to the garage. So those are crucial points where you don't want water to sit in front of a doorway, in other words. And then also I have one in the back because we're picking up water from the back pool deck. And this is how it looks from the air at about 15 feet. There's the brick return I did. We shortened up those brick planters and moved the end in because they were wraparounds. There's your crack point pickup. And here's your other one right off the other corner. And then we have center of radius. Those are really the three main spots it's guaranteed to crack. We got lucky and hit that existing crack there. But that's the beauty of doing your layout after the pour. You got time to make the adjustments and make it perfect. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a good day.